All right, so second video ever on the channel. First was the mini disc player, but I just wanted to go over what's in my server closet and how I have it arranged at the moment as a prerequisite for future videos and projects with these servers and with this closet. So to start out with, this is the closet. It is just in my room, but it is fully fledged. So have a peek in here. I have this hue switch on the wall. You just hit that. It flashes red. I don't know why. And lights come on. And you'll notice that this is kind of just a regular clothes closet that I have stuck a rack into. This isn't ideal. I'm getting a lot of this stuff out of here soon-ish, so it'll be a little bit better managed. But before you complain at me that this is a fire hazard more than it already is, we have a smoke alarm right up there. And this is never left unattended for any extended period, so it should be okay. It'll be fine. So I'd like to go over some of these components. The first of which is just the rack itself. This is a 15U 4-post rack that I got on Amazon for like $130. And it has a bit of an issue. I don't know if you could tell. The entire rack is slanted slightly. Like, it is not straight up and down. And you can especially tell it with, for instance, this server right here, where there's just a huge gap in here versus this side where there is no gap. This is an issue. My plan is to completely replace this rack with a full size, or at least as big as I can get in this space, server rack for my projects. But for the time being, this is what I was dealt with. This is what I have to work with. So let's go and start from the top. This is a VGA monitor for troubleshooting, installing operating systems. Again, when I have a full rack, it'll be an actual proper system. But for the time being, this is here. It's got VGA and DVI. It does its job. Right here, I have one of my storage servers running an undisclosed operating system. This has four 4 terabyte drives of various types. And no, this disk drive does not actually work. In fact, it is not plugged in the slightest. Right here, I have my WAN for connecting all of my equipment to the tenant network and, as a result, the public-facing internet. Ideally, this would not be here. This would be Ethernet because that is my Wi-Fi access point. But, again, the cards I was dealt. Moving down here, we have this, I believe this is a, yeah, it's an Adtran NetVanta 1238. This is a 100 megabit and gigabit switch. Now, I did have full gigabit in here. I don't have that switch on hand, but I was installing this switch, which I'll get to in a minute, and the power supply is dead. So I'm still stuck with this one. It works okay. It's not horrible. It does the job for what I need it to do. Right below that, this is Ramu. This is what used to be my primary hypervisor and what essentially got me to do this project in the first place. Oddly enough, it's not being used very much anymore because it's got quirks. It's an AMD. It's got a lot of quirks. One of which, if I pull back this electrical tape and fire it up here, has a blinding blue light, which I have taped over for the sake of my eyes. The server is not functional, so we're going to leave that off for now. Moving down, this is the Aruba, there it is, Aruba S3500-48P PoE network switch. This was not one of my wisest purchases because I thought, first of all, I thought it was going to come with the SFP module. Instead, it just has this bay here. You can unscrew this and pop this little plate out, but it's not actually, there's nothing in there. All of these are 1 gig ports. And, oh, the other thing with this, the SFP in here is also 1 gig. It's for uplink, so it really doesn't matter. It's no better than these two SFPs on this network switch. It's just that these might actually be a separate interface. So yeah, that wasn't my wisest of purchases. But hey, PoE across all 48 ports of the switch. I'll be doing some sort of VLAN stuff with this, and then this will become the usernet. At the moment, all of the servers and the users are on the same network. Not ideal. I'll fix it. Moving down, we have this TrendNet patch panel with these handy, let's see if I have one here. Yeah, here we go. These little female to female RJ45 keystones. So we can just pop that in. Plug in on that side, plug in on that side, pop it right out. I can also put other things here, but I don't have anything yet that takes advantage of that. I might put HDMI there, I might not, we'll see. Moving right down, we have this Dell Optiplex 7050. This is a Core i5 6400, I believe. It has 32 gigabytes of RAM, and if you could tell by the 3 Ethernets going to it, this is my current router. It's not ideal, but it's a temporary solution. It's better than the Mac Mini that was in here before, and ultimately I have my eyes on a replacement for this, a Dell PowerEdge 320 or something to that degree, that's going to end up replacing this machine entirely as my router. There's my awful mess of cables. This box is running pfSense, and it is, again, responsible for routing everything within the organization network and just keeping everything online, resolving DNS, doing firewall, all that sort of stuff. Moving right down, this is the unnamed storage server. This used to be Remu. This motherboard was in here. Not doing that anymore because it was loud, it was hot, it didn't really do a whole lot. I was virtualizing TrueNAS in here, which if you know anything about virtualization and also, you know, basic data safety, don't do that. So I just have a bunch of various drives in here. 4 terabyte. Not all of them are 4 terabytes. Some of them are 2. Some of them are, I don't know what the actual array size is. In these nice 3D printed, I say nice 3D printed parts, but this is not going in. Okay. These 3D printed drive caddies, because I don't have the ones for this server, so just making do with what we have. I also didn't print all of these. Some of them were in here. Those are now in, well, the drives were in here. I just took the caddies out and I forgot to put them on the other drives. I also didn't want to do that while the array was fully running, so I never ended up getting around to doing that. And this machine is sitting offline. It has ESXi on it. It has the original motherboard in it. It's not going to stay like that. In fact, this server in its entirety might be going away soon, depending on how certain decisions go and how I decide to go about doing this from here on out. Moving along, we have this. This is Ibuki, the HP DL380p Gen 8 HP server. This has, I believe, 112 gigabytes of RAM and 224 core hyper-threaded. So I believe it's 12 cores each. I don't remember what the actual processors are. I'll put them on screen if I remember to. Both those CPUs, all the RAM, and then each of these has, at the very least, a 128 gigabyte SSD in it. Some of these are 256, some of them are a little bit wonky. Eventually I do want to replace this all with like 512 gig SSDs, because ideally I would like to be able to have a nice big storage array for the server, but we'll see. And that's it from the front of the rack. Over here to the side, this is my gaming computer. I put it in here because I don't use it physically. I parsec into it, and so it's better just sitting here attached directly to the network and producing all the heat in here, where it'll just do its thing, essentially. Got some spare rack nuts in here. We do not need those at the moment. But yeah, so this rack and this entire idea was generated based off of watching various YouTube videos and just reading a lot of posts about building a home lab, well, at home. I found out that the racks were actually reasonably affordable. Again, this one was $130 something. You could probably get them for cheaper. You could definitely get them way cheaper if you buy used. This was brand new. My next rack is not going to be just a 4-post like this. I need that reinforcing bar because, again, like, this is not okay. Having this space in here is not okay. And it makes it a lot harder to pull these servers out and put them in because I'm kind of fighting. This server, Remu, used to have a set of rails for it, specifically for the server. And because of the shape of the rack, they never aligned correctly. So what ended up happening eventually is I woke up one day, went in here because I heard a noise, and this was on the ground. It was all the way down there before these servers were here because it fell out of the rails because the rack wasn't aligned and essentially destroyed the rails, almost destroyed the server. So we're not doing that again. Anyway, let's move up here. If you're curious, this is a Linksys EA7500. This has issues. We've been having issues recently where the WAN will actually drop out. And I think it's because this is overheating, but I'm not 100% sure. So we'll take a look at that later on and see what the deal is with that. This, I actually have no idea what this is. It's a TP-Link of some sort. I'll put it on screen. Back there, we have a APC UPS, and then down behind, you probably can't even see that, it's back there somewhere, is another APC UPS. The ultimate goal is having redundant battery backup makes it so that we can actually use the servers when the power is out. Unfortunately, that UPS is not serving its purpose because we had an extended power outage here in Texas. It was about 3 hours, and that UPS back there died. I have the other outlet from Ibuki plugged into that UPS, and ultimately, as soon as it flipped over to that one, it just immediately died. I looked at the ILO logs, and it said that there was a brownout, so that's all we could do about that. So this rack also runs my home automation, so right back here we have the Philips Hue hub. Over here we have a little power strip taped to the side of the rack. Not ideal. We have a little, I believe it's a Netgear, no idea what that is, I could get close to it for you. A Netgear Wi-Fi extender that is just acting as a access point because, well, I don't really have much other use for it. And that controls some of the lights in this area over here, which I'm not going to look at in detail because that could be for another video when I'm actually ready to present that. So yeah, that's pretty much everything in this rack. I think most of the stuff in here when I initially got it was less than, like, total was less than $1,000. It's actually been very affordable, especially these servers down here, because they're sort of older generation. Like, this server is not supposed to be running ESXi 7. It definitely will not run 8. This doesn't even run 7, so that's kind of why I've been having issues with it. But this server right here, my goal is to get another one, pop it right on top, plug them both in, and have both of them running in a ESXi cluster so that I can have all the redundancy I need, no weird issues, no... I'll basically have a failover. Because again, this was supposed to be the failover, but this cannot run ESXi 7 directly because of the Realtek network card that's built into the motherboard, and all the network cards I tried with it did not work. So I have nested VMware 6.7 on here. Inside of that, I have 7, but because it's AMD, I can't failover from here to there because the architecture is different, the CPU features are different. Ultimately, it is a different computer. So it makes it a lot harder to do a lot of what I'm trying to do with these systems. And then again, I tried setting this up. This is a no-go no matter what I do. So I need to pull my data off of that, get it on my new Synology, and get everything off there onto the Synology as well. And then once that's all done, I can ditch this. This server is obnoxiously loud. Like, that's about the volume that it runs at almost all of the time. And I don't know if it's something with the fan controller or what the deal is, but this server is running, it's running a ton of VMs and no issues. It's very quiet. It's about as loud as just a normal computer. Like, I'm not even, whenever I have the door open, I don't even notice that this thing is on. It's that quiet. In fact, before I switched back to this one, I had a Dell PowerConnect, I believe it was a 2848, where the fans were even louder than this, than Ibuki, and it was a network switch. So, like, I don't know what, I don't know. I'm afraid of this Ariba switch as well, because I had a look in the backplate. There are fans. There's an entire assembly with a handle where you can pull out all the fans, and they are those tiny little awful loud ass fans. So my hope is this isn't going to be an absolute disaster to run in here. Again, I kind of have the door closed, cracked most of the time, but it's still going to be annoying. It's going to be obnoxious if it's that loud. So I guess we'll see. But anyway, this switch here is temporary. I've had so many issues with it. I've had to connect in serial so many times just to get it to come back to life and function. And it's interesting, you can actually see all of the LEDs flashing, even though there's nothing plugged into those, which is weird. I'm hoping this switch fixes all my issues. It seems a lot more powerful. It's made by Ariba, which is, as far as I'm aware, an HP company, or at the very least was purchased by HP. So it's also got a nice little display there. Can I focus on that? Yeah, so it's got a little display and lights for all that sort of stuff. I don't know how to, can you stop focusing maybe? Whatever, anyway. That's it for the equipment in the rack. Again, there's a lot of cable miss. I want to redo this, but I'm going to redo it when I get the new rack. That way I don't have to deal with all of the nightmare that this is going to be. First, I need to get failover set up for Ibuki so I can fail over to another server in a different data center, manage all that automatically. I don't want to touch it. I don't even want to think about it. Like, it should just work. But yeah, not really much else to cover here. Again, this is also a closet. I need to get some stuff out here. There's also cables that just kind of run everywhere. Like, there is a cable here, I believe. Yeah, this is a HDMI cable to my TV that does not need to be here. I don't ever use that, so I can get that out of here. There's somewhere around here. Yeah, this is a coax for, I don't think it's in here. I have a, I don't know where it is. It's a web TV, or not web TV, it's a HD home run, basically a TV tuner. And it goes to the card that's in my window, the antenna that's in my window, and lets me capture stuff to my Plex server. My Plex server is in pieces. A lot of it is on here, so I need to get this going and functioning in some way. I'm basically just going to have to load TrueNAS back on here. Yeah, see, there's a 2 terabyte drive, but then if I come over here and pull this, this is like a 4 terabyte, so it's not ideal. A lot of wasted capacity in here, and ultimately I would love to get everything off here so I could just wipe this and start fresh. But yeah, I need to get this up and running TrueNAS or whatever. That might be a video. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how I feel about doing that kind of content. I also want to do maybe some VMware tutorial videos. I don't know if that would be something that people would be interested in. Very amateurish looks at some of the the inner workings of this lab, and also just what I'm doing in general with these servers and with this equipment, and also some of my future plans. We'll see how that goes. We'll see what I end up feeling like doing. Also, unfortunately, this is not going to be a very regular thing because I really have no schedule when it comes to when I can work on this hardware, when I cannot. A lot of times, unless there's an issue, this server rack just runs as is. Like, it works perfectly fine, so there's no issue, but like, ideally I would love to work on this in my free time. Sometimes I just don't have that option, so we'll see what comes up. We'll see how I end up going about this. But yeah, that is it. I'm gonna stop rambling and wrap up this video. Thank y'all for watching, and have yourselves a good night.